welcome to the LPA Sacred Heart University webinar on, let's say, the private equity certificates. Today's session will be dedicated to give you lots of practical information and insights on that program that will be launched very soon, beginning of October, and also the different takeaways from either former students, like we have here today with us, and also then the Director of Program, Jens Hoellermann. Could you please, dear panelists, introduce yourselves to our audience, and then let's move on to the first question. Jens?
Thank you very much, Stephane. Yes, Jens Hoellermann is my name. I'm working in the alternative industry for almost 14 years, amongst others for two major PE firms. And some years ago, I had this idea to launch the private equity course here in Luxembourg together with SHU and then finally with LPA.
My name is Christine. I came over 8 years ago to Luxembourg, directly into the private equity industry, where I started working at Deloitte. Then I switched to a service provider, and now I work at the private side in Three Hills Capital Partners.
My name is Thierry Drissou. I'm tax advisor here at Ethos Luxembourg, and I'm working in the industry for 8 years now.
Well, my name is Galvelas. I work with the LPA for 6 years, and I had the opportunity to do the program last year together with Jens and Christine and Steve.
Thank you then for this short introduction. Just as a reminder, so you can certainly ask questions during our webinar via the Q&A button or the chat function. And also to make it vivid, we will have then a Q&A moment at the end. So really don't hesitate to participate to our webinar. So in order then to kickstart a little bit, let's say the explanations around then the PE certificates, just as a reminder also, this is the second year we are partnering up with Sacred Heart. I'm very happy to push that further because in our eyes, training is very important to our sector, and if you want to attract more talents, be it from Luxembourg but also abroad, you need to propose such, let's say, opportunities then to those people. They could be, let's say, young students, but also professionals and also people who are already working either in the financial services or other sectors and would like to enter the field. So then let's start with Jens. Jens, could you quickly explain us when the PE certificate was created and also what the motivation behind was?
Yes, thank you. I think it was back in 2016 or even end of 2015 when I had this idea. It was twofold. First of all, I saw the alternative sector here in Luxembourg growing so much. AFMD came and funds relocated to Luxembourg or were set up here. And the second thought I had was SHU, as one of the 500 best business schools in the world, should provide a course that is looking into the PE field. So I approached Sacred Heart here in Luxembourg, and they were discussing this with the main campus in Fairfield and Connecticut. And then finally in 2018, we launched the course for the first time. And since 2019, then together with LPA.
And also on our side, it really made sense to partner with Sacred Heart due to, let's say, the high recognition of the university itself, but also the different accreditations and possibilities also for the students to enter the PE certificate or potentially also other, let's say, opportunities. Jens, could you also tell us more about this year's program, also potentially the modules and speakers who will be on board?
Yes, the idea was that private equity and the other alternative asset classes shall not be taught from a pure academic point of view. Private equity is a subject that comes from experience. It is in general not something that academia can only provide. So we had the idea to bring in experts from the industry, experts on the different models. So we will teach the entire life cycle of private equity, starting with fundraising, starting with doing the transactions, tax structuring, legal structuring, exits, and then the different asset classes. And for each of them, we will have an expert in that field.
We also share, again, that vision that you should be, let's say, holistic in the approach to bring the different angles to the table, and also then with hands-on experts. And there also we are very proud to have some of those coaches and experts coming from the LPA, and where we then, again, we can share that knowledge, the experiences, and illustrate that with different business cases.
Yes.
Jens, I think this year was a little bit complicated, but then thanks to COVID, etc. Concerning the logistics and the organization, what's the current outlook? Will it be physical, virtual, timing-wise, and the participants? Can you give us a few details there, please?
Yes. The course is currently scheduled for physical attendance. We don't know yet how the pandemic will continue, but at the moment we think it's doable. We of course have a backup plan to do it virtual if need be. And we have courses in the evenings starting from 6:30 until 9:30 with a short break to accommodate who have to work, of course. And to provide maybe some highlights, we have for valuations a very difficult topic that is not so easy to teach. We have a fantastic guest speaker with Nick Müller, former partner of KPMG, or we have one session for venture capital. And venture capital will be by Jerome Witthammer, founding partner of Expon, and he's a true venture capitalist. And it's really fun just to listen to him what venture capital is about.
Great, Jens. That looks really like a plan. So lots of strong knowledge from local experts and also international experts. A few words potentially also on how Sacred Heart works. I mean, can you just join the modules or just the PE certificate? What can you do with those credits?
The original idea was this course for private equity, but we then expanded that. So the full program is now a PE certificate that consists of different models. There's only one course that is a requirement, which is this private equity course. And then one can choose different models, risk management, portfolio management, for example. But if one is only interested in this course only, that is doable as well and can only visit this course.
Great, that should be very inspiring then for the first and next students then. Concerning now, let's move on also to the different panelists. We have then Christine, Steve, and Louis, who attended then last year's session. And then as former students, alumni, could you please share with us a little bit what you personally liked most within that PE certificate, within those modules, and also initially also the reasons of your enrollment and the key takeaways you would personally see from that certificate?
Art? Well, maybe I'll take the lead here. Well, the course was very interesting. I've been in contact with private equity for several years, with many members of the LPA, whom I then met as professors in this same course for different sessions. And despite all the conferences and all the technical webinars that I've attended throughout these years, there was always something new to get. There was always new perspectives, plus the range of subjects were very complete. Private equity is a very evolving subject. There are new subjects, new trends like ESG, for instance, which is now one of the biggest trends that was also covered. And every year there are updates, and I'm sure there will be updates also at the level of each of the presentations. What attracted me the most when I took the course at first, or that motivated me to jump in, was to solidify some concepts. It's true that there are sessions which are more easy or more generalistic, that treat the concepts of private equity, and then you have sessions which are far more technical, more detailed on tax, on legal aspects, which really require some additional concentration, and which are maybe the day-to-day for some of the practitioners in the marketplace, but not for everyone, not for all the members of our association, for sure. Both me, I don't know if Christine and Steve did the full certificate, but myself, I participated only in the private equity course, which were 2 months intensive sessions. And the second thing that pushed me also to it was to know that there would be a final work, which I found very interesting. I know at least Steve, he mentioned that before with us, that he also appreciated much. But for me, it was one of the key drivers, because it really puts you on the shoes of an asset manager, of a fund manager, and you really need to plan. And it's not only limited to private equity per se. You can also explore real estate, infrastructure investments, and it was very complete and interesting.
And on your side, Christine, what would you like to share?
I fully support what Louis has been saying. For me, for example, I am a full-time student at Sacred Heart. One of the reasons for me to take this MBA at Sacred Heart was the private equity course at the time when Jens contacted me, and I jumped on it. All the courses of the certificate I've followed or am currently following, and it's such an enrichment to my current job, in terms of how you look at when you're reading legal contracts, when you're interacting with investors, when you're looking at investments deal. Definitely through the course with Jens and challenging the minds of the speakers with your questions. It's been such an enriching experience. So I talked about legal terminology that I can bring to my day-to-day job, but as well, for me, what I personally like the most is the people I've met. I've met key speakers, but as well my other peers during the courses have been an enrichment to my professional life, to my personal life, and we still meet up on a daily basis. As well, the team, so the final work for the PE course specifically is you need to create your own fund, and you look at all the assets of who are your investments, who are your investors, your investments, etc. And you work in a little team, and my team has been amazing, and we're still in contact. So I can only encourage.
So lots of positive points, then be it on the knowledge side, the networking, the teamwork for that business case. For you, Steve, what did you like most now during the entire certificate? And how was the enrollment? Was it easy? Can you remember a little bit what the requirements were?
Yes, so the involvement was very easy. 2 reasons for me to get involved in this certificate. The first one is hard skills, I would say. I was looking for to get an in-depth understanding of an expertise in which I've been involved in for 8 years now. And having the possibility to confront your expertise and to get knowledge, a broader knowledge of other field of expertise, just allowed me to better understand our clients' needs. And definitely this is something that I will take the most of it from this certificate. And the second one, even if it looked weird today, I wanted also to meet physically with other people, my colleagues, and other practitioners, students. And I think that this is something that we really need, because too often we are working in our own environment, within our own firm, and we are missing a piece which is the most important, which is the practice, and what the other people and other practitioners in the place are thinking or looking at. And the last but not least, the final game, putting our shoes in the shoes of an asset manager was something very, I would say, helpful, interesting, and something that I definitely recommend.
Again, great lessons to take away and nice opportunities to get in touch with those managers or, let's say, experts in order to see if could also develop your career. Any one of you, I mean, you're now all exposed to private equity, so meaning that's really success. That's either a door opener or, let's say, kind of consolidator or consolidation then of your knowledge, which then you can use further industry. I mean, would you see some, let's say, additional modules or themes you could imagine, let's say, during next editions or different new angles, which are, let's say, hot for the moment and could simply be added up to that certificate?
I think we have added this year two modules. One is secondary private equity transaction, not secondary buyouts. We have covered all the other asset strategies so far. I think this is the last one. And the second one was, and that came from the students. The aim of the course is that the students get the knowledge and are better in their job, and they are promoted and they are stepping up. So it could well be that they are confronted with the situation to become a member of a board of an entity. And therefore, we have added this year roles, duties, and responsibilities for directors. That can be in-house directors, could be independent directors. We will cover the entire spectrum to tell the students what this particular task is about.
Very clever to have added, let's say, those new modules and to look into, let's say, a wider approach, be it then on the, let's say, service provider side, but also manager side. And in the end, substance is really needed, plus, let's say, a profound knowledge of private equity and venture capital. So a good step in the right direction. Anything you would like to add before we open the Q&A session with our audience?
Maybe one thing for me. We always think that things are simpler, and when I was starting to work in the private equity industry, I thought that it was so simpler, but when I started these courses, we get into more and more difficulties and discussions, and this is where you understand that the private equity and the alternative investment industry is so complex, and definitely you need a certificate, or you need to discuss with other people and practitioners and professors, the one that we have, to get a sense of that complexity in order to bring added value in your daily work.
Maybe one last word from my side. There are truly other courses out there here in Luxembourg that teach private equity. But what we want to do is we want to, again, teach the entire life cycle. We want to teach every single topic, and not just maybe accounting issues or valuation issues or legal issues. And that's why we have set up these modules. And when we did that for the first time, we gave our syllabus to industry experts. We showed them to heads of private equity offices here in Luxembourg. We showed them to partners of the Big Four, partners of the law firms, and asked them, do you see anything that is missing here? And we discussed it with them. And then what the outcome was agreed by all these practitioners here in Luxembourg.
Louis, Christine, do you have a tip to share to the next students, be it on the business case or on how to prepare for the different courses, since those are, let's say, in the evenings? Any tricks?
Tricks is don't think about it too much. It's going to take your free time for a while, but it's definitely worth it. I regularly follow courses and seminars and after work events to gain further access to PE knowledge. This course is nothing compared to it. It's an accumulation, and ask as many questions as you can. The speakers are absolute from top level, and they're open to any questions.
Yeah, that's one of the things I would emphasize. There's a lot of dialogue, interaction, Of course, there are a number of slides that need to go through until the end of the session, but quite often there was pressure on the slides because there were so many questions and discussions, sometimes because as we have profiles of people who sometimes are expert in certain areas like accounting of private equity funds, and then they know a lot about that subject, but they lack information on other aspects of private equity. So on that subject, they can challenge the professors almost on some details of operations. But that's a bit the kind of profiles that I see around the room, people that knows a lot about a given aspect because they do private equity, because they do KYC or accounting or valuation, but they lack information on the rest. On the concepts, on the bigger picture of private equity. And that's where I think people can gain something with this course mostly, is to get the big picture. It's important that Jens highlights that e-trial is to cover all the subjects, because you can have this holistic perspective of private equity, from the funding to the deployment to the exiting, and yes, in the real industry, it takes several companies to do that process, takes several service providers to provide specialized services to each, and you are challenged with the holistic view of understanding the full value chain of private equity.
Yes, and we also really recognize that strong value, that added value, and that's why we then endorsed it within our team. And this year, another team member will join again the PE certificate with those different courses. You can certainly find all those related information on our website if you are coming from the LPA, or certainly go to the Sacred Heart University website to find everything you need for the, let's say, nitty-gritty details. And also, we are very happy as an association to have that new career website where then people can, with their studies, also join and fill in an application, which then will be shared with the LPA members, meaning that we are really here to create some light matchmaking, allowing then the new students or talents to find and also discuss potentially with then the LPA members in order to find either a job or an internship or simply open discussions. So that's what we try to offer also then to the community. So great, thanks. Could we now move on to the Q&A session? So dear attendees, if you want to ask some questions, you can then use the Q&A button or the chat function in order to then, let's say, ask me then Steve, Christine, Louis, and Jens then the latest questions you would have concerning the upcoming PE certificate. So either we were quite clear, or people are already checking the website in order then to enroll very soon. We would strongly recommend it. And
I see one question. I think it's for Louis, Christine, or Steve.
Yes. So how much time did you invest during the week for this program?
Okay, I can answer or start to answer these questions. It's basically 4 hours, or it was 6 hours per week, and then it was roughly 1 weekend, 1 or 2 weekends in November and December, in order to get in line with the team and to get in order this asset managers game.
And I would recommend also spending some time reading private equity related news, because that's something you can always discuss with the professors in the room. There's always touchy points that you can bring up, and but that's really not time consumed. It's a pleasure.
Well, true. Jens, I don't know how many classes you're organizing this time per week, but I confirm with Steve it was 3 hours per class. So we had 2 classes a week, and then closer to the end, when we were getting into the head of the asset manager, me and my team, we met up actually quite often, because we really enjoyed it. So I think it really depends on the time you want to spend into it. I can only encourage you to do as much as possible.
There is no book we recommend to read before the course or before classes. Most of the students already have heard a little bit about the different topics. And if not, we just recommend to Google it a bit. Especially together with Luxembourg. There are some publications out there. They might not be easy to read them entirely, but just a few words about the topics, and that is fine. So there's not a deeper preparation required for the courses.
And also to reflect on Louis's hint, I mean, if you want to hear about private equity news, an ideal, let's say, association would certainly be DLPA, since we have, let's say, weekly newsletters we like to share. We have technical webinars dedicated to members. We have also interviews with private equity actors. And I mean, all those additional angles will certainly or might help you then next to those different studies. So we would warmly recommend also to get acquainted with who our members are, where you would like to potentially work later on. So those are the kind of things you could do also. Another last question. If not, then I would like to certainly thank Jens and all our alumni, former students, for their presence today, and also you, the audience, for having a look at our webinar, being interested and curious about the PE certificate. It will certainly be a success again, and hope to see you very soon then.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.